All right. Welcome to another week of the Quinn Tabor Show. I'm excited to be with you this week as I take you behind the veil of my day-to-day as a founder, CEO at an AI-driven education company, Immerse, without doing too much of a 8-year origin story. What I'll describe really succinctly is business model today. We partner with students, but in particular enterprises around the world, in some cases governments, to train their employees English so that they can ultimately be more productive in their day job. So we aren't trying to compete with Duolingo necessarily or Rosetta Stone, but instead it's hyper-focused on how can a company like ours that made an early bet on immersive technology, we won't stop at just providing the best-in-class curriculum or teachers or AI chatbots. How can we transport the learner to a simulated, maybe it's a simulated Barcelona, so that you can practice your travel Spanish, but much more likely, it's the simulated Microsoft data center, the Bosch manufacturing line, the PwC conference room, so that the learners are in context, then partnered with some of the high-end AI LLMs trained by our curriculum PhD team. And then if you want to pay for the premium offer, you can still meet with a live teacher. So anyway, that's the context of our business, like so many others, has been disrupted and propelled forward, but also just riding the constant waves of change that is AI for these last couple of years. And the headline that I'm going to focus on today is the part of my business that I expected to be the last thing to be disrupted by AI, because it's incredibly complicated technology. Once again, I'm kind of working my way up to the punchline here, but if you're able to maybe just walk around in my shoes for a moment, and you can imagine, 3 years ago, I was like, oh, wow, AI could really be a game changer for customer support. And then what if we used it for copywriting? And then what if all of a sudden AI could do the job of SDRs, sales development reps, and actually do cold calling? What if AI could, and this is the big one, change the way our engineers write code? What about on my end when I'm putting together a financial model or a pitch deck for investors? AI has changed every part of that, but the technology that we've built, quite literally designing the three-dimensional reality that students can be escorted into, maybe in a VR headset. More and more, it's these AI-powered smart glasses or on your desktop or your mobile phone. That technology that builds the virtual Barcelona, the virtual Microsoft data center, as of this week, just got disrupted. It's yet another core pillar of my day-to-day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's no longer a question of, do we have the best 3D engineers and designers? It's more a question of, do we have the team that's best positioned to utilize AI quickly, brilliantly, and agilely? So here's the headline. Google dropped their new Genie product that completely, with natural language, builds not just a photo or video. What I'm going to show you here is actually the breakdown of a virtual world getting created live by AI right in front of you. Okay, so for those of us at home that are just listening and weren't able to pull open a phone or watch the YouTube that I just showed, it is this incredible technology. Once again, just like how you fill in a query into your ChatGPT browser, in the same way, you can prompt, I want my character to be a golden retriever that's super giddy as it's frolicking through the prairies or the Spanish or the Swiss Alps. Or, man, fill in the blank. I want to practice maybe before my big trip what it's going to feel like walking around the streets of Barcelona. Or maybe giving a big speech on stage. I want to simulate that right here without having to pay for some big third-party app. It's crazy. It's crazy technology. I think the magic to it all that I'll describe, and I think you can quickly understand for the last 2 or 3 generations of video games. So if you've been around and remember some of the early kind of creations in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s to today, the core technology is that video game and Unity and Unreal engineers create a linear journey through what is kind of within our world coined like deterministic programming. Meaning, man, if you open this box, there's a treasure inside. And then once you grab the key, you can enter the next room. Kind of A leads to B, leads to C. And that's how, for the last 6, 7 years, our engineers have been building Immerse. What's fascinating here is instead of the video game engine that's following kind of the linear prompting and pathway and design, what Genie just innovated on is the idea of no longer deterministic, but probabilistic programming, where instead of 3D objects and kind of the hard-coded physics and geometry of the virtual world, it is interpreting frame by frame the seemingly random thousands of pixels and yet stitching it together just like the movies of old. It kind of quickly scanned through a series of photos, but with the player's intent driving each next chapter. So instead of the designer on a video game creating the linear path, it really is now the player getting to dictate the journey that they want to go on in a way that is in partnership, in tandem with AI, and each new journey, each new experience is created custom, probabilistically, with the player. It's this whole new paradigm. It's really fascinating. And I think before some of the naysayers maybe chime in and say, oh, well, Quinn, I tried it out. And first off, there were a ton of folks kind of waiting on the server, so it took 2 minutes to load. And at points, it was a little laggy. And the actual resolution didn't nearly have the frames per second that you need for a high definition video game, much less a virtual reality experience. It was more in the 20 to 30, like the 24 range, not the 90 plus that you really want. And the max experience was 90 seconds. And I'm like, okay, I get it. This is the V1 that from all of my research over the years, I wasn't expecting Genie to come out for another year or two. So that alone is such a huge milestone for the Google team. And then where most folks would assume the primary application here is just video games, the fascinating one is, video games, $200 billion market. Expected to continue growing at a really good compound annual growth rate. But man, this tech unlocks whole new domains like the actual 3D simulated training that so many of the big robotics companies require huge amounts of data to train their robots on. Then in the same way that LLMs use synthetic data, this now 3-dimensional designs will actually help accelerate and train these robotics companies for a lot of the kind of niche use cases. That's a fascinating, massive industry that it's addressing. And then you enter our world. At Immerse, where we don't build video games for pure entertainment. We build simulations for training and education. Just like the thousands of police officers and firemen that go through simulation training, the pilots, the doctors and the surgeons that want to practice in the virtual simulation before they're operating on a real life human. This technology radically accelerates our ability as educators to deliver the most efficacious experience to every learner in a way that, just like how this new era of video games will be driven by and curated by and for the learner, I want you to now imagine the use case of a Microsoft contract, where prior it was a conversation around, hey, we'd like our learners to practice in the real simulation of a data center. We don't just want to partner with tutors on Skype or just use a chatbot. But man, for a team like ours or plenty of others in the industry, to create the virtual simulation would take weeks, if not months of engineering time and often cost six figures. But now imagine the same Microsoft buyer saying, hey, we'd like just these 30 learners to practice in this exact warehouse that they're going to do fulfillment in, and this 200 learners to be in the particular semiconductor chip fab that is in partnership with TSMC, and then a different cohort of learners, each to be in their curated virtual simulation, meeting their exact set of needs. And for a company like Immerse to say, that's no longer $100K a pop or more, we'd be thrilled to design that exact experience for each learner for perhaps 1% of the cost. It's a whole, oh my gosh, it's a whole new ballgame for education. And so much of the value that gets unlocked really does ultimately support the end learner. Difference between, once again, the tutor to the chatbot to the practicing in an immersive context. All of our research shows that it drives anywhere from 4 to 6 to sometimes 7 times faster learning gains. Fascinating. And it now is bringing the technology to a level of ubiquity that will be in every learner's hands. So now I'm gonna do a little bit of a kind of next level analysis on what are kind of the versions that are realistic. And it starts with, what's the V1? What's the thing that will be viable this year for simulation companies like our own that are immersive and AI driven? And then, man, the entire other industry that I've kind of spoken to. And amazingly, this will be the year where, just like I described, Immerse is able to partner with a PwC, a Bosch, a Microsoft, a Santander Bank, and deliver on the promise of unique virtual simulated environments curated for each learner in the time span of days, not weeks or months. That's game changing, because really now our engineers, just like how Anthropic has said themselves, our engineers don't write code. They partner with the AI to design it, and they review it and add a little bit of polishing tweaks and push it live. In the same way, the role of our team will be a much more curated understanding the client-specific set of needs and partnering with the AI to do the first round of designs, get it to 80%, do a round of polish, get it to 90%, and ultimately through some really good QA and partnership with our educators, get it to 100%. Once again, in the matter of days. It's a 2026 reality. It's really mind-bending. That will happen this year, and you and I will see the use cases in a lot of different industries. And then the V2, the thing that is, from all of my research, still 18 to 24 months out, is then the idea that instead of Microsoft partnering with Immerse and our engineers building out each specific scene and doing the QA, there will come a day where the HR buyer at Microsoft is actually able to do all of that work themselves, to do the prompting, to do a little bit of polishing, maybe upload some images of the real life environment that they want to simulate, and do the design all the way to the delivery for their students. And in the same way, there will be a day where myself, on my own language learning journey, will be able to say, hey, I am about to visit friends back in Beirut or Jordan, and I would like to practice my Arabic in the exact location that I'll be actually collaborating with and communicating. The bazaar that I used to shop at, the falafel stand, to be able to upload a couple of photos and actually practice in that real life environment is mind-bending. It's so powerful. It's so cool. So I think where I'll land the plane, this will be a little bit of a shorter episode, is I think my big macro reflection over these last days and weeks is the rate of change only feels like it's accelerating. And the role of innovators like myself and my team is increasingly to, in our day-to-day work, be more managers of the AI than builders ourselves or even the co-designers. It's amazing that marketing is now looking so different than 3 to 5 years ago. It is managing a host of AI agents. Customer support, the same thing. Sales is moving that direction. Coding is already there. And all of a sudden, so much of the immersive, unique context that we've built, we are going to be managing and creating user experiences for our end customer and their unique problems and needs and desires in a way that is a seamless adaptation of Google's tooling. But gone are the days where a marketer is actually writing their own copy for an email. Gone are the days where an engineer has to write every line of code and do their own QA. It's a fascinating rate of change. And I'm grateful that Immerse started when we did, back in 2017, that we have such an amazing team that's bought into the pace of change and staying kind of abreast to each of these new innovations. And I'm increasingly thankful that we made the early bet on immersive learning. The thing that will be hard is for some of our competitors that are just pure chatbot or pure flashcard memorization, they don't have any of the virtual world or the entire tech stack that we do. So for them to try to come into our lane will be challenging. We still have barriers to entry, but man, it is ever more clear that as builders, you have to keep up with and build at the rate of change. And each team feels like it was 20%, now 50%, now 80% of our time is simply learning the newest innovation, not even having the time to master it, but implementing it, optimizing it, shipping it to the customer, making quick changes, and then getting ready for the next round of changes from the big frontier labs. So it really has me asking some of these big questions of like, wow, what's my business going to look like in 3 years? I can't even imagine 10 years from now. What's the state of work for a lot of these kind of key thought leadership and knowledge worker roles when the most complicated and differentiated part of our technology stack is once again getting innovated on really quickly by AI. So if you've made it this far, I know this is a deep dive into my world. It's the stuff that I nerd out on. If you're curious, you'd like to learn more, I'd love to connect. I'd love to answer any questions. And I think I am still as thrilled as ever to be on this AI journey. But man, it's moving at the speed of light. So if anything, I want some co-laborers to come alongside and kind of share some of this camaraderie and all the ups and downs and the sheer pace of change. All right, another episode down. See y'all next week.